Alrighty. Anyway, so I take my dance background and my medical background and fuse it together. Now, here's what our problem is. We use our body like 90% away from the human body when we're dancing because of gravity, okay? So, where I had the problem was I was constantly, as a young teacher, seeking out teacher training programs, and after every class, my question to the teacher was, all right, I need help because everything you just taught me is for naturally talented kids. And that's 2% of what I teach. So please tell me what I do with the other 98%. Because this was when, after my 7th year of teaching, I looked at the dancers and I wasn't happy with the results. You know, and I blamed myself. So again, I kept on seeking and seeking and seeking, and I never could find it. So I decided for myself, I just went into a rabbit hole and just started guinea pigging my kids and trying things out, and it started to work, okay? But it's because, again, I'm going, okay, we've got gravity, and that's the problem. It's just like we were constantly telling the kids, quit gripping your quad, okay? To hold your leg up, don't grip your quad. Well, when the leg goes forward, your hip flexors, your psoas, and your quads are going to activate. Okay, now, if you were going to pick up a box of dishes, if you're going to hold it up through this way, it's going to be hard to hold. What do? You go underneath to do that. Well, that's what we need to do with our leg, which means you would want to activate your hamstring, right, and through the calf. Now, when your leg goes forward, your hamstring does not engage. Okay, but I found out that if you make your IT band, which is a tendon, that is, so you've got 4 quads. You've got 2 here, 1 here, and then you've got your VMO right here, the 4th one here. So your inner thigh ends there, and it's that one. All right, well, your IT band hooks on here at the edge of the hip, goes down and attaches beside your knee. So when you make that really strong and you can lengthen that out, it will actually start activating your hamstring. So I started getting that strong, and then that's how I was getting kids to sustain and hold that. Because when they're going to go, even starting to time do, if they go forward with the leg and the quadricep activates, and do this, sit on the floor if you can, put your legs out in front, and I want you to take a deep breath and blow your air out and relax, okay? Then what I want you to do, we're going to take 4 counts to grip our quad. Now, a lot of times it just wants to go right away. But if you were going to do this, we're going to go 1, 2, 3, and 4. So just take your right leg, relax it first, and slowly grip it. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, do you feel that? All right, now, see that your kneecap pulls up, because the quad here, once it's a muscle, when it gets here, it becomes a tendon and it attaches to the patella, which is your kneecap. The quad here does the same thing. It ends here, and then it becomes a tendon and attaches there. Then the quadricep here does the same thing. The muscle ends and it becomes a tendon and it attaches here, and then you have your patella tendon that goes here to there. Does that make sense? So now, when you grip your quad, do you feel your kneecap lifting up? So do that slowly again and watch what your kneecap does. 1, 2, 3, 4. Did you feel that? Okay. So the first thing I do is I try to make dancers control that if I just say 1, can you stop it? Because a lot of dancers can't do that. They'll just keep on going because it just wants to take over and control. Okay, but because your kneecap goes up, this is why kids' hips get sore, because it draws the femur head. Your bone, the top bone here, that's the femur, and you have the femur head. So if that's the hip, your head's here. Got it? So as soon as that grips, if you're not doing anything else and you go to take your leg up, this is what happens. It starts jamming in. Now, here's the next thing. I was constantly correcting dancers when they would do a bot mine that their chest is collapsing. So what's your correction? Lift up out of your supporting hips, right? If you're on one leg, or, right? Well, if you're doing a bot mine, you'd be on one leg. Okay, so pull up, lift up out of your hips. Well, that was actually the wrong correction. Okay, and I'll tell you why. Even though I would have them lift up, I'd go, like if I had them at the bar, I'd fix them, I'd go down and I look back in the mirror, now that kid's doing the same thing again. What I had to do was, I had to stop the femur head from jamming in, because I'm gonna have you do this. Sit up. Okay, now do me a favor. I want you to take your pelvis and tilt your pelvis. Where'd your chest go? Exactly. So my correction, so a lot of times when kids don't take your corrections, we think, oh, they're just not taking our corrections. But a lot of times it's because we had to give this correction, and this correction to get to that one. Does that make sense? Okay, so I was given the wrong correction. I had to get the femur head from jamming in, okay? So again, that's what I did. I made their IT band strong to do that. Now, how do you do that? So, let me show you just this real quick, because I only have an hour and I want to give so much stuff. All right, lay back for me and bend this knee. Okay, so in my process of warm-up, you have to slow up. Okay, what I'm going to have her do is, y'all can still hear me? All right, I'm going to have her turn her leg in and sickle her foot. Go 90 degrees first, grab the rope. Okay, now, find out, you're pretty flexible, correct? Okay, so you find your flexibility and pull this over and pull that way. You feel this? Okay, yeah. And it doesn't, it feels uncomfortable when you first start doing it because it's not like a muscle. Does it stretch a bit? Yes, but not like a muscle. So just stretching that for 2 seconds and then I bend it and release it. And then I go do it again. But I'm also stretching your peroneal tendon here. And that's what you have to use to present your heel forward on the tendu. Okay, bend it. So after I do like 3 or 4 of those, then I start doing resistance, which makes it strong. So you're gonna pull that way and take your leg back. And it doesn't feel good at all. Yes, exactly. So that's what you wanna do with your kids on making that strong. Another thing that I do to make the, sit up for me. Another thing that I do that will make them strong, and y'all can do this, put both fists. I take a $5 kickball from Walmart. Okay, and I put that in between here. But just for right now, take both of your fists like this and put in between here. Okay, now what I want you to do is squeeze your legs together. You felt your inner thigh go, right? And probably your fourth quadricep, the fourth. I count them from over here. 1, 2, 3, and then 4. Okay, so you feel that? Now I'm gonna say something different instead of that. So, all right, let go. Now do that again and make sure you feel everything you feel. So go ahead, squeeze again. You feel that? All right, now I'm gonna say something different. You know what tongs are? Like if you're cooking corn on the cob, right? You use those to get it out of the water. Okay, so I want you to think that your 2 IT bands coming here are tongs, okay? So you're gonna go from here and lengthen it and press in. All right, everybody do that, go. Can you feel that? Absolutely. Now, not only did you feel this, did you feel your minimus? Yes. So now I'm multitasking instead of just thinking inward. Did everybody feel the difference of that? Yes? So I make them hold that for 15 to 20 seconds and I do like 5 to 8 reps to help. And that will make that completely strong. And like I said, you're working your glutes, which will make them get up in the air. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay. All right. Now, once you make, stand up for me. Everybody stand up, yeah. So now do this. Take, and I call this echo effect. What I'm going to have you do is take both of your IT bands and massage them down to where they attach beside the knee. So you're just going to do this. Just go like this and pull down, pull down. All right, now do this. Tap on them. Can you feel the imprint of where you tapped? Yes? Okay, now go back down again. Now, try to pull both of your IT bands downward. Did you feel your knees completely stretch? Okay, now hopefully, all right, relax again. Try to pull both IT bands downward. Did anybody feel their hamstring activate just a little bit? Yes. Okay, and the more you do that, the more it's going to activate. So if you can get your kids to get their IT bands really strong, then especially like, and you can start the little ones. When they start that tendu, before they go, you have them pull the IT bands down, because what it's going to do now is take at least that first quadricep and start pulling that down. Now, once you lift the leg up, it's going to act, I call it mohawking up, because it does this, but it's going to lengthen first, and then it will go a bit. Does that make sense? And then after the first quad does this, then the IT band in the first quad start pulling the second quad. Then that starts pulling the top quad. Does that make sense? So then this will happen. You'll see the space I have here when they're doing the tendu or 90 degrees or a bat mat. Then it's not jamming into the hip. Does that make sense? So now you're saving their hips, you're saving the labrum, and that correction is gone. Does that make sense? Okay. So also, how many of you, and I don't understand why this has happened, but kids don't like to stretch their knees. Do you agree with that? But after the pandemic, why did it even become worse? I don't know. I don't get it. So anyway, all right, that's how I get the kids to stretch their knees, okay? So let me see. Do this. Face this way. Okay, give me ballet first. Okay, now give me tendu derriere. Okay, so what I'm going to do, slightly bend your knee just a little bit. Have it a little bit straighter though than that. Okay, now I'm going to have her pull your IT band. Go, lengthen, lengthen, lengthen. That is how I get it straight. But also, there's a second thing I do. If you touch, I'm going to touch her fibular head, okay, right here. All right, if you have them take their fibular head bone and act like they're pulling it to their ankle bone, go, whoop, anybody see that get straightened out more? And then a lot of times, because of gravity, it'll even rotate more. Does that make sense? So it's from, everybody just do that for yourself. Touch that bone here, right on the outside, the fibular head, and then go down to the ankle bone. All right, so I'm using both things, and that's how I get the kids to keep that leg straight. Did y'all feel that? Yes? Okay. Now, what you need to do, though, is you have to go and touch the kids. You have to, like, have them do that so they can feel, because a lot of times when we look at it, it kind of looks straight, but then you go and make them go again. Actually, you know what? We did this side. Face this way. And so maybe they can see it better. Go ahead. From here. All right, again. IT band. Now, fibular head to the ankle bone. Okay? Well, she already has it. There you go. Does that make sense? But you need to go and touch each kid and let them feel the difference of, because they feel like it's always straight. And I just always say, don't assume that it is. And then that way, what happens, it saves their meniscus, because a lot of these kids, you watch them do a plie, so do a demi-plie for me. And a lot of times they'll pull up correct, start pulling up, no, stop right there. Before they get to the end, to go quicker, they pull the patella, push the patella, boom, and go back. Now guess what? The pelvis goes back and disconnects everything, because it disconnects, once your sit bones sit backwards, it disconnects the inner thigh here and the top quad here. So now they're not into the floor. And this is why hip-hop dancers don't understand. A lot of kids, oh, I don't like to take that other stuff. That's that ballet class, I don't like that. You know, I just want to take hip-hop. But they don't realize if they don't know how to do a correct plie and don't keep a neutral pelvis, that's when the kids can't get grounded. Because like I said, as soon as you sit there, and let's just do this, go back to parallel, let's just do second, right under the hips. All right, give me a good plie, have a neutral pelvis, okay? All right, now, sit back in your hips. You feel your inner thigh went away? Now the knees aren't going to be over top of the feet, they're going to come like this, so you're not connected to the floor, but the top quad goes, and everything is now on the outside of the legs. Now what happens, especially for the girls, their legs are going to bulk up. Okay, so this is the next thing you have to do, is get the kids to understand how to engage their abs, but they have to, it's just not about engaging their abs for me, they have to keep a neutral pelvis, which means tailbone is straight down, pelvic bone is being pulled up, it's opposition. So take your hands like this and go opposite like this. All right, so that needs to happen, okay? Once that stays neutral, and then they have their abs there, then I want a separated spine, because I also want place or air between the vertebrae as much as possible. So the nerves coming out from the spinal cord, which feeds into the muscles and organs and everything, that energy will be coming out of their body also. Does that make sense? Yes? Okay, now, this is how I engage, make the dancers engage their abs, okay? Actually, you know what? Let me hold off on that. I want to go back to my T-neck. Who's ever learned my T-neck? Anybody in here? How long ago did you learn it? Okay, so I've changed it a little bit. Okay, so, again, your naturally talented dancers know how to use their arms to the back. So I was lucky, I was a naturally talented dancer, okay? So when I started teaching, it was like, why can't these people get this, you know? It's like, you know, and the biggest thing you have to have is patience. Patience, patience. All right, so I started going, okay, I'm gonna engage my arms to my back, what am I doing? And I actually noticed that I was taking my shoulder bones and pulling them outward, okay? Now, what's attached to bones? Muscles, tendons, and ligaments. So, the kids cannot see, all right, let me go back. How do we get kids to do choreography? We do it, they see it, they can repeat it, correct? Okay, they cannot see live muscle work inside their body. And because of that, that's why a lot of times they don't understand it. And you can explain it, and you can explain it, but they have to know how to feel it. And that's what we have to do. We got to get the kids out of the mirror and get them to feel their corrections. Because this is why you have things that look great, and then you put them on stage, and things that look great don't look great anymore. You're in the front row watching, and you're going, oh, 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 oh. Okay, and that's because they don't know what it feels like. There's not a mirror. Now, if you choreograph a mirror and they dance, then that's good. But you don't do that, all right? So, again, you got to get them to feel their corrections, all right? Now, if you take their shoulder bones outward, so this is the first thing I'm going to do. And if y'all can get a partner so that they can pull this, so have them touch right here, okay? And tell them to relax that and feel that. Now, take the front and back of the shoulder bones. So you see, let me turn her sideways this way. See how I'm grabbing here? I used to make grab here. This is better. Grab here, okay? And then I'm going to have her pull her bones out. Pull your bones out. Now, do you feel this? Okay, great. So, next thing from here, I want her to push that outward, okay? Then from there, I'm going to add this. I'm going to have her feel her clavicle bone. So, feel that. It makes like a little U-ey and goes out. So, take both fingers and go up and then go completely out all the way to here, okay? All right, now, so you did shoulders out, now pull your clavicle bone, and now do the same thing. So it's like if I had somebody on the other side, can you jump up here real quick? So that's what you want to do, is get somebody else on the other side, get on the other side of me, and we're going to go right beside her spine in the middle of her chest. Okay, yeah, take your fingers like this though. All right, now we're going to act like we're splitting her in half and do that. Do that to yourself. Now, do you feel that? And you feel this? That's absolutely. So that's going to keep her chest open. Now, if she keeps all this going, when they do, and this happens a lot, when the kids are doing floor work, before they go to the floor, you've got to have them do my T-neck, because gravity is going to pull the shoulders there, and as soon as those arms stay that way, they're not going to be able to fix it, because their weight's going down also, okay? Or, I notice a lot of times when the kids go forward, they roll this. So not only doing just the bones out, that clavicle bone here is going to stop that. So do this. Take both jazz hands this way. Now push forward, but take that going out, 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 out. Does that feel different? Absolutely. So now you keep your chest open, but she can feel her back even more so, correct? Okay, you can sit down, thank you. All right, so that's the first part of it, all right? Now, the next thing. So by doing that, because a lot of times our corrections are the final result of what we want. Because my teacher would say that all the time. I was such an overachiever. I was obnoxious. Well, I'm still obnoxious, but at least I admit it. Okay, my teacher would say, Denise, push your shoulders back. So I'm going, okay, like that, and now my ribs open, and I made it worse. Okay, so again, if they're pulling their shoulder bones out and separating this, their shoulders won't go forward and they won't go back, okay? So, next thing, and this is probably the biggest culprit, is their shoulders being up, especially if you're doing something that they're stressed about. because when we get stressed, the muscles right here will pop up, and that's what's pulling your shoulders up, okay? So how I'm gonna fix that is the neck. That's why I used to call it a T, and then I changed it to a neck, all right? So what I'm gonna have her do is I constantly want you to lift your neck out of your body, okay? So that's why I call it a T neck. Now, once you've got that going out and the neck lifting up, your shoulders cannot go up as long as you keep lifting your neck up. Now, do y'all feel that? Yes? All right, so that's it. Now, I'm gonna go further. When your kids are on stage, I already kind of said this, okay? When they're on stage, you're gonna see more mistakes. Like technically, you think you have things fixed, you get them on stage, you're gonna find out, ooh, it's not fixed. When they're at the studio, they are not in their subconscious mind for their technique, okay? When they're on stage and they're performing, because you want them to be an artist, that's the whole thing, right? They have to tell a story of what's going on. Well, when they're in that mindset, then their technique's gonna come from their subconscious brain. So I did all this brain research about 12, 13 years ago, which changed, again, a lot of my teaching, okay? So, and a lot of times how we learn things is through a shape. If anybody has any little kids, I think they still make their little Fisher-Price box, right, with the triangle, circle, okay. So a lot of times we will have a shape that's gonna come into imagery, okay? All right, so this is what, and I don't have a board here, but you want to draw, I draw a little circle, which is gonna be my belly button, okay? And then what I do is I take an arrow that goes down this way and I put an arrow. And then above the belly button, I take another arrow going up and draw the arrow sign, okay? Then I take another line out this way and do the arrow sign and take that going out. So this part represents the shoulders that I just did. Does that make sense? Okay? All right, so basically what I made was a T, because that's every kid, like 3-year-old up. And I teach my T-neck to the, you know, they could be two, when I give private lessons to like a ballet dancer from ABT. I had one actually requested that I would teach them T-neck, and the reason why they wanted to do that was because they said, like, when they're in the court of ballet and now the principal dancer comes out or the soloist comes out, they could be, sometimes they're interacting or sometimes they have to pose like they're in a picture. And he was saying that once he stands there for a while, he has a hard time like getting back up his leg, getting up on his leg. So I taught him T-neck, and that's he could get up on his leg and balance forever. Does that make sense? Okay, so again, draw the picture for them to see, because again, they want to make that T with their body. All right, now here's the next thing, what I do with the kids. Sit on the floor for me. Okay, put your legs out straight. All right, now, so this is the next thing. So when I taught this before, I didn't go on with this, okay? I tell them, I want them to imagine that their ribs are their upper teeth and their hips are their lower teeth, all right? And you've seen people that have braces and they have the rubber bands over here, right? I have ADD, so if someone comes and talks to me, I've missed their first part of the story because I'm watching the rubber bands move. But you know what, when they came out with the tongue rings, that was worse. Because I'm watching that thing go on, I'm going, wait a minute, what was your story again? It's like, yeah. So anyway, so I want you to imagine that I put a rubber band here and here to the top of the hip, and here and here. Okay, does that make sense? Sit sloppy. Okay, now, what I'm gonna do, I want you to think about pulling your bones, separating your clavicle bone, and lifting your neck up. Okay? All right, go. T-neck. Now, did you feel, imagine, now go back again, and imagine now we're gonna stretch your rubber bands. Ready? From your teeth that I just made, right? All right, go, T-neck. Now, did you feel that? Okay, now what you've done with that 3-year-old, you basically introduce them to their obliques. Does that make sense? Okay, and then I say, well, I'm gonna do the same thing on the back. Let's put a rubber band back here and here, so I want them to stretch both of those. So sit sloppy again. Everybody, ready? Now do the T-neck. Make sure that you're doing the clavicle bone with it. Yes, does that make sense? All right, now here's the next thing I'm gonna do. You wanna take a t-shirt that has some kind of diagram on it, okay? But that also stretches. Does that make sense? Okay, now, I'll do it in groups because I go up pretty close to them and I do it like 3 or 4 times, all right? Now, I'm not going to give you the end result of what I'm looking for until after we do it. And I tell them the same thing. I'm going to look for something once I pull this and I make them do a T-neck, all right? But I'm creating this imagery that's going to show up when they get on stage to work. Does that make sense? Okay, now, what I'm going to do, I tell the kids, I'm going to move back so all of y'all can see. All right, turn around for me because you had never learned my T-neck before, right? Okay, so this is good. All right, so what I tell the kids is, I'm going to wash this T-shirt, and instead of putting it in the dryer, I'm going to go outside and put it on a clothesline. Hopefully the kids know what, I went to a school that they didn't know what a clothesline was. I said, sorry, I didn't bring one, so I had to describe it. Going, oh, y'all are spoiled. Okay, anyway, all right, so I tell them this. If I hang it this way, it's going to dry wrinkle. So how do I fix it? Do what? Right, I take clothespins on the shoulders and I pull them out. It's exactly what I did to your shoulders. So I'm going to pull that out. All right, now watch what happens when I pull it out. Look at the design, and I keep pulling it, and I keep pulling it, and I keep pulling it. Okay, so, and I'll do it like 3 or 4 times, but I want them, keep your eyes here, because a lot of times the kids will kind of look at you and look at your face and look down. You've got to keep them on the diagram of it. Okay. All right, so here, I'm going to pull it out, and I'm going to keep pulling. All right, I'm going to do it one more time, and then I'm going to come to the sides with y'all. Okay? All right, keep what you saw in your brain. All right, so I'm going to come over here. I'm going to do it 3 times, okay? Here, but I'm going to keep pulling, 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 pulling. All right, second time. Pull. And third time. Pull. Okay? Did y'all see that from her? All right, so let me come on this side. All right? All right, first time. Second time. All right, third time. Okay, now, keep in your brain what you saw, okay? All right, so I'm going to ask you, what did you see happen? Okay, and then it did what? It rose up? Right, okay, good. All right, now, you're going to get different answers. So what I do with the kids when I'm teaching this, I have them cover their ears. Because when one kid says it, then they all going to say the same thing. I really want them to tell me what they see. And I found out on some of their answers, it lets me know, I can go into school and tell you who doesn't pick up good and who does, just by doing this, okay? Now, she did tell me the right thing. She saw the beginning of it, because a lot of kids will just say, oh, I saw it go out. Does that make sense? And if they tell you that, they're the kids that have trouble picking up because they can't see how things start. Does that make sense? So what you want to have them see is that it lifted up and then it went out. Exactly. The picture that I drew, even though I'm going that way and up and out, but it did, from the shirt, it goes up and out. Now, how many did see that? That and out. Okay, now did some of you not see that? You just saw that going out? Or y'all all probably got it. Okay, great, awesome. So, but that, again, will help you, because a lot of times it might take years, especially when they're just beginners, because they're not learning, they're just doing a lot of repetitious stuff, and a lot of times you won't notice until kids really get into deeper choreography that they might have that problem of not processing everything. Well, this will help keep you so that you can start working on that now as a young child. Does that make sense? Okay, now, face that way again. All right, so that's what you're doing again. So that's what we should see. Now, do me a favor. Put your legs out front and relax, okay? All right, ready? So sit kind of sloppy. Ready? Do T-neck. T-neck. All right, sit sloppy again. T-neck. You're brainwashed. I can see from here. All right. Sit sloppy. T-neck. You're brainwashed. I'm just going to look at a few to see. All right, relax again. T-neck. Relax. T-neck. Do me a favor. Look at this one more time. Because I can see a little bit what I'm looking for. I want to see, because a lot of times, if you didn't really, I was kind of more that way. All right, look at it again. Here, and pull out, 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 out. Okay, all right, relax again. T-neck. Okay, I can see that one better. Okay, let me tell you what I'm looking at. I'm looking at your IT bands. Okay, now do me a favor. Sit sloppy again. Put your hands on the side of your hips like this. But come right where it ends. Right here. Yeah, exactly. Like you had holsters. Up. Do yours up more. Yeah. All right, ready? T-neck. How many of you felt your legs lengthen out? Raise your hand if you felt that. All right, do it again. Ready? You're actually, you might not feel that, but you were actually using them. Ready? T-neck. Did you feel that activate? Yeah. All right. So did y'all feel that lengthen out? Okay. Now, this is what's good about this. Not only, and did you feel your arms through the middle of your back? Okay. So, not only does it make you feel your arms through your back, all right, it separates your spine because it lifts everything back up off, but it grounds you. So, if you've got a kid on a turn, all right, they're starting their turn and they start, that releve starts to go down. If they say T-neck, guess what? It pushes them back down enough to get through it so that releve will stay up. The other thing, if you have a kid doing a turn and they do that little hop, that's telling you that they just pulled up in the back, but they didn't push down to stay connected in the floor. That's why they do that little hop. That, if they're doing T-neck as they're doing that, that helps them get back down. Now, let me go to something more advanced. Illusions, okay? I use T-neck on my illusions. Now, one of the first mistakes that kids make on illusions is when they go, they just take that chest right over and they sit back in the hip, correct? Okay, when they say T-neck, it pulls that IT band down so they don't sit back in the hip. So now you've corrected that. The next thing that happens a lot on an illusion, once this leg goes up and your body is right? Okay, once the leg gets up here and it dips this way, gravity will start pulling it and it breaks the line from the leg from the body. Does that make sense? A lot of times it'll fly down. Well, if they're saying T-neck, it lengthens it out and it'll control it more. Does that make sense? So then now you solve that problem too. All right, and then just when you have them in an abstract position and the choreographer wants them to get up on their leg, again, I use the T-neck. All right. If they're doing stand up and give me a bison, so go over here, flat back bison, here, yep, okay. When they're going over for this, T-neck, because the separating the shoulder bones, it stops them from dipping straight over and losing their balance. Does that make sense? So I use it, because I was just using it just to use through here. And then I found out, oh my gosh, it works this, it does this, it does this. So anytime you have trouble with your kids being off balance, have them do that. Does that make sense? Yes or no? Now, did you feel your arms through your back? Yes? Still? Okay. And like I said, here, do this. Let's let you feel, I want you to feel it all. All right, so T-neck and really push those, the clavicle bone outward. Push it forward and keep going. Yeah. So now take your arms in ballet second. So what I tell the kids is this: when we're doing this, even though you're closing in, I want them to think opposite, that they're opening. So go, open, and you felt it more because I can see your triceps. Did you feel that? Yeah. So that, yes, absolutely. So that will stop that from happening too. Okay. And the neck lengthening out, especially on turns, that like every turn I should see that neck just up. Yes, absolutely. Okay, now I'm going to leave T-neck alone for a second. Do we have questions or does everybody understand it? Yes? Okay, so make sure, again, that you're doing imagery with a shirt that will give and it has some kind of shape on it so they can see that that is happening and that's what their body has to do. Okay, and then what I actually do, I actually did this before I took my kids to nationals. I took my pros and I showed it to them again, just to make it stronger. Does that make sense? And if you have somebody that's really not, you don't see the IT bands activating, I get up closer to them and really let them watch that picture and then it'll happen. Does that make sense? Okay, now, What I'm going to do is I'm going to go over how I get the kids to engage their abs, but what's more important, that they have a neutral pelvis. Because, and I blame this on Britney Spears, because when she came up with, oops, I did it again, right? She's sitting with her pelvis back, with her booty out, and all the girls thought, oh, that's cute. The guys like that. They like that booty out. And then it just made everything worse in dance, right? Okay, so we're gonna get that neutral pelvis going, because again, once the sit bones sit back and our inner thighs don't, because my ballet teacher would say, oh, the seams right here, think about rotating the seams. And it's like, but that's not where the inner thighs start. And they start, if you feel your sit bone right here, it roll off of that sit bone, your inner thighs start way back here, okay? So that's why if you're sitting back, you're losing your inner thigh, and that fourth quadricep, and the knees will be rolling in, so they're not connected to the floor, okay? And then, like I said, the top quad goes away, and everything's on the outside. All right, so when I teach new things, I put things in a 1 category, a 2 category, and the 3rd category. Number 1 is how do we start it? So this is what we're going to engage in order. So I'm going to give you a 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D. Okay? When I get to 2, and usually this is what happens, you don't have that many things to do. We're only going to do one thing to engage our abs, okay? Then my number 3 is what I'm going to do to sustain what I'm doing, whatever it is, okay? So I'm going to give you, so 2 would just be 2. 3 is going to be 3A, 3B, 3C, 3D. And T-neck is on that. That's why I wanted to teach T-neck first, okay? All right, so stand up for me. And what we're going to do now, again, I had taught this, and then I changed it probably 4 years after I came up with that system, because I was noticing my kids, when they were prepping for pirouettes, they had a neutral pelvis, and then all of a sudden, right when they engaged the passe, it wasn't there. And what I was leaving out was the lower abs that sit way under here on that pelvic bone, okay? And if you ask the kids where their pelvic bone is, they don't know where that thing is, and they don't. They think it's up here, and it's like way, way under here. And I got introduced to my pelvic bone years ago when my older brother got a blue sparkly bike, and I got a bike that didn't have sparkles, and I was upset, okay? And a boy's bike has that extra bar, right? Where the girl's bike doesn't, and I'm short, so I really shouldn't have. I would steal his bike when he didn't know it, and I would ride it, and then of course I could never stop, you know? So I would try to put my feet down, but I'd have to jump off. And I would land on that bar every time, and I'd be laying on my back thinking, oh God, I'm dying. I cracked it. I cracked it. Yeah. So I know where my pelvic bone is. Anyway. All right. So we're going to do this. Sit way back out. Get way out of alignment. Because that's what I want them to do. I want them to feel all aspects of being way out of alignment. Then, and I do this with all my corrections, I take them just a little bit out of alignment because I want them to feel that. Because I want them to fix it before everything else goes out of whack. Okay? And a lot of times they can't feel that. But when you start getting them to do that, because I have a problem, I am a nurturer, and I love giving corrections. Okay? And I need to stop doing that as much and let them come up with the correction first. Does that make sense? Okay? All right. So first things we're going to do. So let me see you sideways so I can see how far back you are. Absolutely. So we're way back like that. All right, so we're going to go right there, your hip flexors, give me like an inch down from that. So what we're going to do is, in our belly button, we're going to end up going to our belly button, but my first thing is lift your hip flexors up a bit. So that is 1A. So we're only going to come halfway up. So right from there, lift it up. Make sense? And what I say to little kids is this. You have pants on that have elastic. The elastic has wore out or broke, and your pants fell down to here. And I want you to lift your pants up. Does that make sense? So that's how they'll understand that. So again, ready? Lift your hip flexors up a bit. So you all can already see I started fixing my pelvis. All right, from there, you're going to 1B is now bring that up at an angle to the belly button. So now we're going to go that way. Okay? So on her, let's go this way. Sit back. All right, so I went 1A, then I'm going 1B, okay? Now, my 1C, I'm going way under there, okay? So what I say is, I'm gonna put a zipper here. Was anybody a teenager in the 70s? Raise your hand, anybody in here? My only, right? Hip huggers, right? And what were we doing the whole time? We were showing crack all the time. Wasn't cute. No, we did. It was so low, our zippers were like this. Okay, yes, so what I want you to think of, we have a zipper right here. So now I want you to go from here, lift the lower abs straight up to that belly button. Yes, so now that changed your pelvis again. Okay, so that was the part that I was leaving out. So I still was kind of neutral, but not completely. Okay, all right, so 1C, lift the lower abs up to the belly button. Okay, now 1D, I want you just to push in a little bit, because what I want you to think of is that I now have connected your hip flexors with your abs. So when I move the abs backwards, your hip flexors are still gonna lift up. Does that make sense? Okay? All right, so push in a bit. All right, so start again, sit back. All right, 1A, lift your hip flexors up a bit. 1B, pull them up at an angle to the belly button. 1C, zip your lower abs up to the belly button. 1D, push in a bit. All right, now, I found that, and we were trained to take the front of the abs back to the spine. I found, though, if you don't start with the front of the abs and start with the back of the abs, as if you were doing like a contraction without you contracting over and around the spine. But anyway, if you go from the back of the abs to the spine, you actually will get them back further, so that if they release a bit, they're still engaged as if they went from the front to the back. Does that kind of make sense, kind of what I said? Okay, so this is what I'm going to do. Put your arm up like that. Okay, so that's going to be the spine. I'll turn different ways to do this, so y'all will see this. Y'all will kind of see this. Okay, so our muscles are layered, okay? So if I would take her abs out and put them here, it's not going to be like a filet mignon. It's more like a country ham. So like I would pull back a big sliver like this, now another little piece like that, maybe another little piece, maybe another big thing like that. Does that make sense? Okay, so if I'm going to the front, let's say all this is her abs, okay? If I'm going from the front to the back, I'd have to push this in, get that tight before that moves. Does that make sense? Okay, do it this way so they can see that. Here, I'm gonna push that, it gets tighter, and then it makes it all move. All right, this way again, here, and I push. All right, does that make sense? All right, now, because it's all connecting tissue, yep, if I go from the back to go, it all goes. I leave out a step, so put your arm back up again. All right, so I'll do it this way. So watch. If I pull that, it just all goes. Again, see that? It all goes. It just goes. All right, now, hold this toward my face. Okay, if you watch my shirt, if I pull back here and pull that down, do you see how the front part went with it? Because it's connecting thread. So this is what I'm saying with the abs, again. So watch, when I pull this here, you see how that part still moves? Because it's connected. So again, we're gonna pull the back of the abs there. The abs will move back to the spine. Does that make sense? And it's gonna support the spine. Now, I want everybody to do this. Give me the biggest jazz hand ever, and that you can't move it anymore. Right, you can't move it? All right, take your fist and put it into the palm. And when I do that, I can move my fingers a little bit more. Did you feel them spread out more? I do that again. I can't move it. Take this, go here, and you can move it more. This represents the spine. This represents your abs. Going to the spine, boom. Now, that's what's gonna happen. You can separate your spine even more so because it's there to support it. Does that make sense what I just said? Yes? Okay. When you do this and they feel it move after that, they all go, oh, okay. So it just makes more sense. All right, so again, she's taking the back of the abs to the spine. Yes? All right, that's the only thing. Now we're actually connected. But when I want a neutral pelvis and I want the abs engaged, I want a separated spine. Because again, once you give space in between when the spinal cord has all of the nerves that feed into the organs and it feeds into your energy, okay, when I separate that, then it all comes out more. How many times, let me ask you this, How many times have you watched a group number and you're trying to watch the whole thing, especially like if you're judging, you just can't watch, you know, sometimes you got that kid that's pulling your focus and you know, I gotta watch everyone, okay. So, but you keep watching and you keep on being drawn to this person. A lot of times, and they're doing the same moves, but you don't even know why. Like they're not even moving bigger, but you don't even know why you're being drawn. It's because of the energy that's coming out from their spinal cord. It's those nerves coming out of, and it's that energy that they're, and you don't know this. Like I said, when I did all this brain research and went into all of this other stuff with your body, but that's why you're drawn. And that's why you want that separated to give that energy out, okay? All right, now face this way for me. Okay, now, so 3A, what we're gonna do is we're gonna pull our tailbone down. Now, this is what I'm gonna do. This is my lower sacrum, okay? This is gonna represent my lower sacrum, that's the tailbone. Now, I used to say, push the tailbone down. Now, that, yes, you could correct it and you could be good, but again, you get the overachiever child, what's gonna happen? I could end up doing this, exactly. But if I did do that and I was correct, nothing happened here. So watch, if I, here, put this to my face again, sorry. All right, if I do this and I pull it that way, that moved downward, and that's what you want. Watch, again, nothing happened. That pulled that straight. So if you watch on her body, all right, so engage everything you had before. Now pull your tailbone down. You'll see this move downward, okay? Does that make sense? All right, so that's what I need. All of this to move downward because I've already pulled the back. So you want them to think that their belly button's back here. So all of this shifted downward. So that's 3A, okay? Now, the next thing, instead of separating the rest of the spine up, it's gonna get caught here. So, show them this again. All right, so this is going to be the spine. Hold the top of that. Okay, good. All right, these are the muscles beside the spine. Okay, lift up. So see, it'll go a bit, but it won't go but so much. Now watch, I'm gonna do my T-neck. So these are my shoulders, okay? So I'm gonna pull my shoulder bones, and when I do that, that's gonna open that way. Now she can lift this up more. Does that make sense? Okay, so that's why you're gonna do T-neck is my next thing to end this. So 3B is T-neck, okay? All right, next. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna support the front and the back of the head. So our head is the heaviest part of our body, all right? And actually, we end up having more weight back here. Now, this is another thing that I do different. And when you tell a dancer to support the front of the back of their head, they go back here where their spine ends. There's a little hole space here, and they go right there in the skull, and they go underneath their chin, and they go there. So feel that? Mm-hmm. Okay? All right, let me come this way so they can see this way again. So they go there and there. All right, did y'all see it? Did y'all see it from there? Okay, now, instead of doing that, because there's too much weight back there, if you feel where that hole space is, go out about 1 inch, and you can see where your skull sticks out a little bit more, okay? So I have them support there, then go behind the ears, and you feel where the skull sticks out again there. So what I'm gonna have her do, instead of just using that space there, I'm gonna have her go here and there. So now feel the difference of when I do this to you. Does that just almost, absolutely. That will lift up, and especially when you get my age, that feels so good back there. Yeah, because like, yeah. Does that make sense? So go back and teach that again. Again, instead of being here, like right there behind, again, where it sticks out here, all the way across there, behind the ears, okay? So that is going to be my 3C. Support the front and the back of the head the new way, okay? Now, the last thing I'm going to do is take the rest of the spine, because when we put the tailbone, we want it to go to the floor. Now we're going to take the rest of the spine, we're going up, we're going through that little hole space there. She's going to go through the skull, and actually where her spine would come out would be here, and she's going straight up from there. Does that make sense? Now, let me say this. We all used to teach the string in the middle of the head, and the reason why we taught that is because as humans, we tend to sit back. And when you tell them to take the string in the middle of the head, right, it gets them a little bit forward. Now, I don't know, well, you weren't standing up, so you didn't feel it, but when you take the lower abs off of that pelvic bone, that already puts you there as if you did this. So you can't pull in there again, or they'll go forward. So make sure they know that now they can get rid of that, because once I took the lower abs up, I always shifted forward. So they'll be too forward. Does that make sense? All right, now stand up and let's go out of whack and let's put it all back together so we can be organized. Okay? All right, so sit back in your hips. Get rid of the Britney Spears. Ready? All right, 1A, lift your hip flexors up a bit. 1B, pull them up in an angle to the belly button. 1C, zip up the lower abs, up to the belly button. 1D, push them in a bit. So now you've engaged. And so once the abs keep moving, the hip flexors will keep lifting. Yes? All right, 2, pull the back of the abs to the spine. Now, how do you get little kids to do that? I lay them on their back. Okay, and what I do all of this again, and then I have them imagine not to go here, but to go a little bit out that way and drop back the back of the abs to the floor, and it's easier for them. Now, what you got to watch is, you can stand back up. What you want to watch out, when kids try to engage their abs, a lot of times they do what athletes do. They grip hard, and that's not what we want. We want this little tunnel to go back. You should feel this tunnel going back. The reason why athletes grip like this, because let's say we're playing football and I come and block you, I can actually rupture the spleen. So that's why they're gripping hard out in here, and they have all this surface behind, where we want everything coming back to engage and support that spine. Does that make sense? Okay, all right, so now we got back of the abs to the spine. All right, now pull your tailbone straight to the floor. Hopefully you felt your lower sacrum shift downward. Okay, now give me my T-neck. Support the front and the back of the head. Now separate the rest of the spine up. And you should also felt your IT bands pull down to straighten your legs. Did anybody feel that? Yes. So again, you've got that going on. All right, do it one more time. Throw it back. Ready? 1A, lift your hip flexors up a bit. Okay. 1B, pull them up at an angle to the belly button. 1C, zip up the lower abs to the belly button. And then 1D, push them in a bit. All right. 2, pull the back of the abs to the spine. 3A, pull your tailbone down. T-neck. Support the front and back of the head. That's 1C. 1D, separate your spine completely. All right. Next thing you want to teach them, the distance between, and again, give this to your 3-year-olds. The distance between this shoulder and that hip, that shoulder and that hip. And you're going to go, the angle will go through the belly button. Okay? So watch. I'm going opposite from the belly button and going that way. And I'm going that way. And I want her to do it in the back. Same thing. I'm going that way and I'm going that way. So now you've already got them to be bigger with their body, and they're going to be more controlled. Does that make sense? Okay, let that be. Now, you have to, when I started spending more time making that correct, that's when my dancers really improved. Because a lot of times I feel that we just go, okay, we got to get up and dance. We got to get up and dance. And I was doing that, but what was happening is they just got sloppier and sloppier. So it doesn't work. Now, I know a lot of times, especially if you have observation windows, right? How many of y'all have that the parents can watch? Okay, so a few of you do. I used to work for a studio before I owned my own that had them, and when I opened my own studio, I got rid of it. No, because it's like number one, a lot of times they can't hear what's going on, and so their perception of what's happening. But let me just say this. I found out that if I feel like parents are going to ask questions, before they ask questions, because they won't come to you first. They have that meeting out in the parking lot that you're not invited to, right? And they start asking each other questions, and then when more questions come about, they get a little aggravated, and they come up with their own story, and now you've got emails coming in, and it's like, oh my gosh, who said this? You know, or you've got that parent that wants this to happen, and they come to you and say, oh, there's 10 people that really want this, and it's what she wants, right? You ever get that? Anyway, all right, well, if you have the kids sitting on the floor for a long time trying to understand their body, they're going to go, well, wait a minute, I'm paying for a dance class. Why aren't they moving? Why aren't they moving? So what I would do is I send an email out to the parents and say, this is what we're going to do this week. We're going to learn some more anatomy, we're going to do this, and da-da-da, so we're going to spend a little bit more time, you know, on the floor and whatever. So I do that just for anything. If I feel like parents want to ask questions, because what I was doing was, I'm Denise, well, I don't need to explain myself. Well, guess what? That gave me misery. So I do this. If I feel like a question's going to happen, I'll send an email stating this is the benefit of why I'm doing this, and da-da-da-da-da-da, then I don't have problems. Okay, so just want to give you that little thing to help. All right. All right, let me see. Where was I going on this? We did the core. I did stretching of the knee, right? Okay. Questions, do we understand that completely? Yes? Okay. So spend more time trying to get pelvis neutral. Go back again and do this. Oh, wait a minute. Oh my gosh, I gotta give you this. I actually came up with this week. I did this in my mini class, and I actually had the best pelvises that day. So let me tell you what I did. I don't even know why I came up with this, but what I did was, I was explaining again the spinal cord and the nerves coming out, and how you got vertebrae, and that you have the disc, and that if you keep on sitting back like this, how it's going to smush the disc, and then it starts damaging the nerves, and blah, 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 blah. And they're all looking, oh yeah, whatever, I don't feel it, you know? Of course, and I told them, a lot of times you think they're taking your corrections, but until they feel it, and I keep on trying to say, but when you feel it, the damage is done. So you need to listen to me. So this is what I did. I made vertebrae, okay? And then what I did was, I had that little space. So I told them, okay, I want you to take your finger in like this on that space in here. Yep. All right. So what I did was, I said my tailbone is right here. I'm going to do this. That hurt, didn't it? And I took every kid and I smushed their hair. A couple of you just come here. I'm not going to do it, everybody, but just so you can see what I did. I did this. Put your finger straight into. Do it this way, though, flat that way. Go in here, and then I did that. That hurt. Well, no. See, they don't feel. That's what I said. When I did that, they had the best pelvises that day. Yeah. Here, put it in there, right? And I put my tailbone that way. Yeah. I smushed their finger. I hurt them. Yeah. So that they could feel that. I know I did. I smushed their finger. So I said, when y'all stand there like that, that's what you're doing. You're doing the damage. And I tell you what, because they felt that pressure, they really worked hard that day. I'm not kidding. Their technique was on point that day. So steal that, please. Yeah, that makes sense though, doesn't it? Yeah, because a lot of times y'all just let that go. Okay, now where I want to go now is feet. Do y'all have trouble with feet? You have kids with biscuits? Biscuits hard, they don't want to move? Okay, all right. Couple things. You want them to practice really lengthening out the toes out from the metatarsals. So a lot of times what I'll tell them is, we make their toes their legs, okay? So sit on the floor for me. Okay, so what I want you to do is sit up and take your IT band, lengthen out your leg. Yep. All right, now do this one, lengthen your leg out. Yeah, so what I want to do is make sure that when they're sitting there, they're not pushing their pelvis to make a leg long, okay? So I make them lengthen their leg out as much as possible. Then I go back and I tell them, we're going to pretend like these are legs, and I put my finger up, and I make them do partners. Just keep your heel on the floor. Try to touch my finger. Lengthen it out. So then what I do is this, okay? Some kids, of course, can't do this. So you know what I'm going to do? Let me move to the edge of the stage, and all of y'all come closer, okay? Let's move down this way. Right. Okay. So you can see the difference of what's going to happen, okay? Let's go up here. We'll get real comfy. Alrighty, so this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to say this to her. That's your leg. Metatarsal right here, that's going to be your hip. Alright? That's going to be your IT band with your 2 quads there. That's the top quad. That's your inner thigh. That's the other quad. There's your hamstring with calf. Got it? So what you're going to do is, and I'll do this a couple times, I'm going to do this and pull that out like that. Alright? Now, touch my finger. Nothing out, 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 out. Good job. Now, do this toe. That's it. That's it. Good, good. Do this one. Yep. Do this one. Now, come get me way over here. Yes. Now, here's what it is. When you take the pinky toe, lift it up and take it out, you activate your outside of your foot. And that is something that I did not learn, and I'm old as dirt. I didn't learn this until I was 26. And I had great teachers, but I did not learn that at all. And I'm going, oh my gosh, I never used the other side of my foot. Okay, does it make sense? Now, do this. I now do this with the kids. I go and say, okay, take your pinky finger, lift it up and take it out. So, and I say, feel the outside of your hand. It's not activated. Lift up and go out. And then let it fan. So then they start learning how to really wing the foot correct. Okay, up and out. So do y'all feel that? Okay, now, once you go back again and lengthen that out, 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 pinky toe out. What happens? You feel your metatarsals more? Now, what I'm doing with this is I'm making the metatarsals stronger. So now they're going to jump up higher, they're going to move out from themselves more, and then they'll shape the foot more. Does that make sense what I just said? Okay, so try to do that with your feet. Okay? And in fact, like do a Barbie foot. All right, take your Barbie foot and pull your pinky toe out. Yeah, and just keep on holding that. So relax, Barbie foot, pinky toe out, hold that for 5 seconds. And have them do anywhere from 8 to 12 reps, and your foot will be tired. Okay, but it's going to start shaping that foot more. But you got to get them to lengthen the toes out, because this is another thing that I say different. Instead of telling them to push their metatarsals down into the floor, which I do want, what I say is this: lengthen your toes with your legs out. So do this. Get on your hands and knees. We're going to change. Let me take the mic off for a second. So, I'm going to CA, and then I'm going to push my metatarsals down into the floor while I straighten out my legs. Got it? Right, so do that. Feel that? Yes. Do that again. Ready? And straighten and push it down. All right, now, check it out. I'm going to do it now. What I'm going to say is, again, I want you to lengthen outward and spread them, okay? As you're straightening out. Ready? And out. Oh, one more. More like a suction cup. Did everybody feel that? So, do I want the metatarsals to the floor? Absolutely. But if you just push the metatarsals down, you're not getting the connection as if you lengthen the toes out, up and out. Does that make sense? Like it is a suction cup. And that's what you want them to do. Again, they'll jump up higher, and if you want them to move out from themselves, then you'll get that happening. Okay? Now, next thing. You have your foot over here. Okay. Now, how much time do you have? We're out of time? Oh, if you need to leave, you can leave. Okay. All right, now, this is the next thing I'm going to do. All right, I want you to relax. Now, what a lot of here, I didn't know this well. Okay? A lot of times what these kids do, they only worry about pushing down this way. And then they get the pinch here, and they get the pinch here.
got it.
Here.